Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
The time to rise has been engaged. Your better best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. The finest of hours.
Hello and welcome to Monday afternoon. A new week with new things to talk about, some old things to talk about, and we are here to help with all of it. As we kick off the week, we've got the latest on the Epstein situation, which back in the news. Here we go again with Jeffrey Epstein, back like the number one story again. So we'll get you the latest there. We also have Democrats angry about Republicans winning the government shutdown debate, and now they want to sue over it. Really? I'm serious. We'll fill you in on that. We've got the latest in the investigation into James Comey. Donald Trump is also considering a lawsuit against the BBC. This is super interesting because if you remember the lawsuit against CBS in 60 Minutes for 60 Minutes editing a Kamala Harris interview during the presidential election, and then airing that interview, edited, making Harris look better and make it look like she gave a better, more concise answer to a question than she really did. And that lawsuit lingered for a long time and then was finally settled out of court, and allegedly, reportedly, Donald Trump, was awarded a lot of money in that case. CBS did not want it to go to trial. Now, this is a very similar situation happening with the BBC. This regarding a BBC documentary about the Capitol riots, the January 6th riots. And in their documentary, they played a quote speech from Donald Trump that was not all the same speech. They took multiple different statements and multiple different speeches and stitched them together to make it all look like one big long thing, also leaving out key portions of what the president was saying, clearly to change the context of what was being said. And so here we go again. Very, very similar situation happening now with the BBC is what happened with Trump and CBS. And a lot of legal experts are weighing in on this, saying that if Donald Trump does decide, or the White House does decide to move forward with a lawsuit, that they would have a really good chance of winning, that there's a lot of evidence to back up these claims. So super interesting there as well. So we'll get into that story as we go through the afternoon. Monday also means we're going to talk to our AI big tech expert, Mike McCleary, and a little less than an hour from now, just after 3 o'clock, Mike McCleary will join us. Also, Mondays mean Paul Kurtman, our financial economic expert here on the show. We always talk to Paul on Mondays to get an idea of how the markets are looking and how the economy is looking as we start another new week. Paul will be with us in about a half an hour. So looking forward to that conversation. And here to start things with us is the great Gabe Pfeiffer, formerly of Mike Ferguson in the Morning, News Talk STL contributor, always part of the family. The great Gabe Pfeiffer is with us. Gabriel, as always, thanks for your time, my friend, and welcome back.
Good morning, sir. Happy Monday, my friend. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've been on the radio. So I have to get my words back.
It is Monday. It is not morning, but we are always glad to have you.
I'm so used to it being morning.
So always glad to have you on. So, Gabe, still a regular part of this show and the station in general, but you have you have been gone for a couple weeks. I don't know if you were gone on business or pleasure. It doesn't matter. But when you go 2 weeks without, I don't know if you were able to, whatever you were doing. I don't know if you were still super engaged with the news cycle or if you were completely unplugged, but it does. I mean, if you even blink or turn your head for a day, you feel like you're behind. You go 2 weeks and it's a whole different world. It's like things just change so quickly these days.
It is so wild. I mean, I was 90% unplugged. I was taking care of some family business. My daughter had surgery and I was kind of out there to support her. But one of the things that I noticed whenever I would poke my head in, I felt completely and absolutely lost. I was like, I was kind of like, okay, what world is this? That meme of Robin Williams coming out of the game in Jumanji, and he's like, "What year is it?" That was me. That was how it felt to be disconnected, even just for a couple of days.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and if I ever am gone for, we've had a couple of family trips this year, and that I've been gone for just days, not even a full week, and it just feels like you're overwhelmed with trying to catch up on everything. And then, the last time that we talked to you a couple weeks ago, it was, the government was shut down. We were smack dab in the middle of that government shutdown. And, didn't really look like it was going anywhere. Now the government's open back up, but there's still all kinds of,
mad about it.
Yeah. All kinds of fallout from it. So let's start there because, like I said, I've got some news regarding that situation and that fallout here to catch everybody up on. But just for you, being away and now catching back up on all of this, this is our first time, obviously, talking since the agreement to reopen the government. Looking back at this, month and a half long process, longest government shutdown in history. Democrats in the end are the ones that cave in. How do you, on the scoreboard, how do you assess the government shutdown and who has the momentum and who got the blame and who are the winners and losers in your estimation after this whole thing is said and done?
Now, ultimately, the hardest part of determining that is kind of feeling out where the mushy middle, I like to call them, the relatively low information voters who usually only kind of turn up for the big, November elections every 4 years. How are they going to assess this? What is this going to live in their minds as something to be concerned about? Who do they blame for what was going on? How successful essentially was the propaganda machine that was trying to blame this stuff on Republicans is another way, I guess, to look at it. But ultimately, I'm just kind of I'm always impressed by the sheer audacity of the Democrats. And because on the one hand, I saw many of them on the various talk shows and podcasts and whatnot talking about how this is all the Republicans' fault. And, hey, the Republicans control the government. So if the government shut down, it must be their fault. Just relying on that low information, like I said. But then at the same time, when we come out of the vote to reopen, everybody's mad because the Democrats caved. So which is it? Is it that the Republicans control everything and the Democrats can't do anything? Or did the Democrats cave to reopen the government? It can't be both.
So, and we know that the truth is that this was all started by the Democrats. This was a deliberate choice by the Democrats to say, we are going to use the expiration of the last budget agreement to make a stand on Obamacare subsidies, healthcare issues that involved with the Obamacare situation, and a couple other things like the funding for PBS and that sort of stuff. But they made the choice that they were going to use this moment to try to create leverage and advance their agenda, or at least pieces of it. There's no other way to look at it. The Democrats are the ones that shut down the government. They're the ones that made the choice to do this. However, that's the truth. In the end, do you believe that the majority of the American people believe that? Because we know that the mainstream media, as usual, carried the water for the Democrats throughout this entire process, and at best kind of tried to make it sound like a 50-50 situation. But definitely never pointing directly and solely at the Democratic Party for making this happen. So with that in mind, do you feel like most of Americans, most of the voters out there blame the Democrats for everything that we've been through? Or do you think that this did hurt the Republicans just as bad, if not maybe even more, if that's what they still believe, that this was a Republican creation?
Now, all I can go on is what the reactions have been through social media. That's kind of my only connection to the everyman out there.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people in my circles are pretty well versed in all of these things, and they've got their fingers on the pulse. They kind of know the truth. So trying to kind of gauge where, like I said, the everyday voter is, the low information voters are on this. It's tough, but based on social media, this may actually turn out to be a wash ultimately when it comes to electoral consequence, because basically there's just there was just a general general discomfort with the concept of a government shutdown, but there weren't that many consequences from the government shutdown, except for certain small sectors. So this may actually turn into one of those nothing burgers that we thought was going to be a huge deal.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think especially until the last few weeks of it, it was barely felt by the majority of Americans. With the SNAP program expiring and the air traffic controllers and military not getting paid, it started to have a little bit deeper of an impact. But myself, and just almost everybody I know, basically just were spectators in this. It didn't impact.
90% of us who work in the private sector had no effect on.
Yeah, absolutely. One person it might have had a massive effect on, and this was something we talked a lot about last week, was Chuck Schumer. And the continued calls, and they have not quieted over the weekend, from members in his own party for either the minority Senate leader to step down or not run again next year when his seat is up. And of course, there was already a lot of speculation and conversation surrounding AOC possibly primarying Schumer even before all this happened. But now now she seems to have even more momentum there. And I made this point several times last week with various folks, when we were talking about this. This could be a critical moment if this is the end of Chuck Schumer. If this is sort of the death blow to his political career. I mean, we like, for the first time in decades, the Democratic Party will not have any Clintons. They won't have any Bidens. They won't have any Pelosi's, and they won't have a Chuck Schumer. This could be, a big turning point and maybe personality change for the Democrats going forward. Do you think that Chuck Schumer could be on really precarious ground right now after caving in or losing, I guess is a better way to say it, this battle with the Republicans?
Yeah, I think his days are numbered. I don't see it so much, though, as a consequence of this supposed loss.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's what were they going to do ultimately? Because eventually, I think the Republicans would have pulled the nuclear option and just kind of moved on. But this I think it was his decision to have this fight to begin with. And I think that's kind of where the consequence is going to be. It's like, you know what, this didn't gain us anything. It risked a lot, but it didn't, there was nothing, there was no ground taken. And what Democrats really don't like is when one of their plans to move the goalpost doesn't go as expected. So, and without the backing of people like Pelosi, with the basically what we're seeing is a changing of the guard among Democrat leadership, I don't see how his leadership survives too much longer. I mean, it may survive this round of questioning, but it's definitely, I think, a short-lived prospect going forward.
Talking to News Talk STL contributor Gabe Pfeiffer, and as I mentioned, there is a new development surrounding the fallout and reaction to the government shutdown, a settlement, I guess, agreement to reopen the government. Now, Democrats, a group of Democrats, are pushing for an official investigation. What a surprise. Democrats wanting to investigate Trump. Democrats are requesting an investigation into what they say is partisan messaging, illegal partisan messaging, used by the Trump administration on official government websites during the government shutdown. And they want Trump to pay the price for breaking these rules. This is a little ridiculous, but it's important because it's the next step in these things. And I'm going and here, a little teaser, Gabe. We're going to continue the conversation in just a moment. The folks leading this charge, Elizabeth Warren and Adam Schiff. So you can you can probably already get a pretty good idea of the tone and positioning of this investigation, or at least this request for an official investigation. We'll give you the details on that and more as we continue the conversation with Gabe Pfeiffer next here on Colombo Company.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
I mentioned last week that I have once again seen it up close and personal just how effective the Wallner home selling team is. I've told you about our experience working with the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway and how they over-delivered for my wife and I a few years ago when we were selling our old home and buying our new home. And Rodney and Jen Wallner, and of course our very own Jamie Allman, is a part of the Wallner team, have done it again for somebody very close. I should be able to share some of those details very, very soon, but I watched it again firsthand, just how great the Wallners are and how effective they can be when they are on your side. There's a lot of, we're going to talk to Paul Kerman in a few minutes about, any changes happening in the market, and that's always a concern. But right now, it's still very much a seller's market. So if you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wait any longer. Call the number one home selling team in St. Louis, the Wallners, and put them to work for you before that window of opportunity closes. Of course, the Wallners are selling 15 times more homes per year than than your typical home seller. They also have so many qualified buyers right now that they guarantee to get you an offer. They're qualified, or they're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois. So no matter where you are in the St. Louis area, the Wallners can help you. If you're thinking about selling your home, don't wait any longer. Call the Wallners now at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner home selling team.
Hi, I'm Mark Sutherland, founder of Stone Ledge Distillery, and I'd like to give you a bottle of Stolock whiskey or Inversion vodka. Just register now at newstalkstl.com and come experience what Missouri Ozark Highlands craftsmanship really tastes like. At our tasting room in historic Defiance, you'll enjoy Stolock whiskey, Inversion vodka, and other Missouri-made spirits, wine, and craft beer in a beautiful cocktail lounge, our cigar room, or out on the patio every weekend. Right now, win a bottle of Stolock or Inversion at newstalkstl.com. Come raise a glass in Defiance.
Tim Jones here. I am beyond thankful this Thanksgiving season for God, family, friends, country, and all of you in News Talk STL Nation.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and for this Thanksgiving season, I'm most thankful for good health for everyone, my family, my friends, and you.
News Talk STL, celebrating family and friends this season of Thanksgiving. Brought to you by Best Buy Flooring, D. Gregorio's Food Products, and Golden Chicken.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story of the Great Rattlesnake Roundup.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 119.94.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Ashlyn, and on the line is News Talk STL contributor Gabe Pfeiffer, talking about the latest fallout surrounding the reopening of the government and the debate and battle that took place during the government shutdown. Gabe, as I mentioned right before the break there, Senate Democrats are requesting an investigation into what they say is partisan messaging that the Trump administration used on official government websites during the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. Senators Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Adam Schiff of California. I mean,
Yeah,
like you don't even need it anymore, right? Like you just doesn't that say it all?
And trustworthy.
When you say those two names and you picture those two people, like immediately when you say their names, I have a picture in my mind, like of their faces. And
yes.
And it's always, it's not a positive image. And nothing about their physical appearance, just their, they just both
their demeanor.
Yeah, especially Adam. They both are like this, but especially Adam Schiff, how they just look like weasels. They just, you just know, like you look at them and you say, I can't trust anything that comes out of this person's mouth. They just have that look about them. And yet,
and Elizabeth Warren is gonna call the HOA on you.
Yeah, exactly. And Adam Schiff is gonna lie, about
he's gonna lie about it,
about any actions.
I saw he had a
I saw him.
He had a full junker in his front yard. Yeah.
Exactly. I saw him paint his fence. It's only supposed to be white. He was painting his fence gray. I saw it.
I saw him do it.
Exactly. So Elizabeth Warren and Adam Schiff and others are urging the nonpartisan Government Accountability Office to launch a probe into whether the Trump administration crossed a line and broke federal laws due to messages posted on official government websites that pinned the blame on Democrats for the shutdown. Quote, some agencies' announcements appeared to include nothing more than partisan messaging and lacked a connection to official business, the senators wrote in a letter to the GAO. Hans von Spakovsky, senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation and somebody who has been on this radio station many times and talked to a lot of our show hosts, said that Democrats are simply seeking a distraction from their role in the shutdown with this. The White House has echoed similar sentiments and statements that they have put out since this. But so that's the basics of this, Gabe. These Democratic senators led by Elizabeth Warren and Adam Schiff say that technically, the law is you can't on the official White House website or official government website, you can't post partisan messaging, and which this whole thing, like this one, big time to me, like makes me roll my eyes because there was so much partisan messaging coming out of both sides, but especially the Democrats, and especially Democrats sitting in elected positions. So are you telling me that Adam Schiff and Elizabeth Warren can go on television as United States senators and they can lie and misdirect people, but somehow that's okay? But if the White House posts, something on their website that says, the Democrats started this shutdown and it's their fault, that's too far. Elizabeth Warren can go on television and lie. That's fine. But, if you post something on the website that points the fingers at somebody, that's too much. That's too much power being, swayed against with American people. This one is ridiculous to me, Gabe. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I mean, one of the things that I've always hated, and this is kind of something that I've seen happen a lot, is when a government will use basically our tax dollars, our resources to campaign for things that the government wants, and you're not supposed to be able to do that,
Yep.
and that becomes the kind of the partisan fights that we don't want to have. We don't want the government to be able to do on a regular basis. Now, my question about this thing though is, well, what if the government is simply stating a fact, like the fact that the Democrats were at the heart of the government shutdown? Is that partisan, or is it just kind of saying what's happening in government right now?
Yeah, I agree, and I also totally agree with like this law that you can't use government websites to campaign or to push a political agenda or narrative. I agree with that. And I agree with you also that you can't use taxpayer money to, run your campaign or, or fund a political campaign or assist with campaigning, for yourself or people on your side. I completely agree with all of those things. But I go back to, if we're going to, if the whole point is the sanctity of a, government official or a government body is so important that they not be allowed to, partisanly campaign for an issue or an election or whatever it may be, then shouldn't that also fall on what they do on television, what they say during official interviews with news organizations as acting senators and congressmen and in other positions? Like, I agree. I don't want you using the government. I don't want you lying or using the government platforms to do that. But aren't you doing that exact thing when you're a sitting senator going on television, lying about the exact issue that you're now upset about?
Yeah, there's a lot of sticky situations when it comes to going on making appearances on news sites and or maybe posting things. People would get guest editorials at for like the New York Times and something like that. Some senator will write about how horrible the president is or what have you. And I'm always bothered by that stuff in general, but I think that's still within the bounds. The problem I have with the Democrat notions right now is that they don't like when the White House says things that are true that make them look bad. That's really what they're suing about.
Yeah. This would be an interesting one to see if it goes anywhere. It's probably one of the issues that I'll bring up with Susie Moore tomorrow, our legal expert, because along with this and some other new investigations and Supreme Court rulings. There's a lot going on, and we'll talk to her about the legitimacy of something like this, and if it has legs, and if this is going to be what we're talking about moving forward. And again, and here's the other part of it, just to wrap this up, Gabe, on this particular issue. The other thing is, I'm so sick of Democrats saying, and getting away with literally everything that they want to. But, we never hear about an investigation being launched into the Democrats. Very rarely. I mean, very rarely. But every other day, it's like, hey, Republicans broke the rules, another investigation against Donald Trump, another lawsuit. It's like, it just doesn't feel fair, very balanced to me at all.
It never is. And of course, because the Democrats have, people running cover for them in the media, then you're always going to get that kind of coverage too. It's kind of like, a fighter, because I always have been comparing politics these days to MMA just because I like MMA. But it's kind of like a fighter's complaining about some sort of illegal moves or low blows and things like that. I don't know, that's questionable, while they have brass knuckles under their gloves.
Yeah,
that's kind of how it feels like whenever the Democrats accuse the Republicans of pretty much anything. It's just like, hey, you can't do that. It's like, wait, I don't know, that was kind of a questionable call, and they're complaining and they're lodging reports and they're getting livid, but they're pulling every dirty trick ever. And it's I'm a little tired of it. I really hope somebody should hold them accountable soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got another story about that I'll get into a little bit later on. That goes into that exact scenario that we're talking about, in that there's a chance that the case against James Comey could just be thrown out by this judge. And I'll fill you in on the details. And again, I'm sure we'll talk to Susie about that. Yeah. Because of mishandling of evidence. I'll fill everybody in a little bit. But yeah, it's just like, you gotta be, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like it just is so ridiculously unbalanced. So yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that issue and more as we continue through the day. We're gonna get Paul Kurtman on the line here in a moment. Gabe Pfeiffer, thanks as always for your time. Welcome back. Look forward to talking to you again very soon, and have a great rest of your day, my friend.
Thanks, guys. God bless.
Back at you, buddy. That is News Talk STL contributor Gabe Pfeiffer. And as I mentioned, Paul Kurtman from PR Kurtman Investments is about to join us, get his thoughts on some of these news stories of the day. Also, get an update from Paul on the economy and the markets as we kick off another new week. We'll talk to Paul Kurtman next on Colombo Company.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Also that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Paul Kurtman's financial update is brought to you by PR Kurtman Investments, providing customized strategic guidance to help you build and protect your wealth. Learn more at prkurtman.com.
This is a little old school local music. Oh, late 90s St. Louis flavor here. Judge nothing. Good stuff. Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Thanks again to Gabe Pfeiffer for joining us in those first two segments of the show. If you missed any of that conversation, go and check it out on our podcast. The podcast is the best way to make sure you never miss anything that happens here on the show, because we put the show out as a podcast right after we get off the air every day. We put it on basically every podcast platform. So wherever you get podcasts on that platform, make sure you're subscribed to Colombo and Company, and you'll never miss any of the great conversations like the one we're about to have with Paul Kurtman from PR Kurtman Investments. Paul, as we kick off another week for the first time in a while, or was the government? No, it wasn't officially open when we talked last week. So now we are officially open for the first time in one of these conversations for a while, and always appreciate your time, my friend.
Yeah, good to be back with you, Tony. I'm glad the government shut down. I'm glad that that's getting wrapped up. That seems to have helped the market a little bit, but you might not notice if you've been paying attention to what the market's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We can hear you clearly, Paul, but you're very quiet. So we're going to try to boost your audio, and if we can't do that, we may have to call you right back. But let's give it a shot with this first question. Of course, same first question as I have for you every week. I don't know if the government shutdown or reopening situation had any impact on the markets or the economy. It didn't seem to really play a huge role in those areas during the government shutdown. Where are we at as we kick off another week market wise?
Yeah, I hope I'm coming in a little bit louder now, but the market.
Yes, you sound good. You're good.
Oh, good to go. The market's getting off to kind of a pretty rocky start at the beginning of the week here. You know, last week, the market actually, the S&P 500 dipped below the 50-day moving average. And that might not mean a lot to people that, you know, aren't real market heads, you know, like I am or some people might be. But the last time that happened was before the S&P 500 kind of had a little bit of a flash crash earlier this year. And then today, it actually dipped below that 50-day moving average again. And so I've been telling people that I think that we're probably due for some volatility. I think you and I have talked about this, Tony. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going to trigger it, but it might just be the fact that the AI sector, the tech sector, is continuing to get sold off a little bit. So, you know, the market's going to rebalancing. It looks like the market might be headed into an area where it's just going to try to rebalance itself. This is something very healthy for the markets to do, but you know, it doesn't feel that way when you're about to retire, or maybe you're already retired and you have a portfolio and you're watching your statement to see what's going on every day or every month. So people just need to know that there might be some volatility ahead of us. It appears like there might be, but it's just one of those things that the market has to go through. And it has been doing that routinely now for literally decades and hundreds of years.
You just said, so my next question was about to be, and then you kind of answered it. You said that there's not like an obvious trigger for why this would be happening. You did mention that some volatility in the tech sector. We're actually going to talk to our big tech AI expert, Mike McCleary, here just after the top of the hour. I know one of the issues that we've talked with Mike a whole lot about over the last month heavily, and even before that, is the massive investments that are being made by big tech companies into building infrastructure for powering AI systems, because that's the biggest problem right now that the AI developers are facing, is they just don't have enough compute. They just don't have enough power to optimize all of these various systems. So there's been some massive spending and major purchases and development plans to build nuclear power plants across the country to, to provide this power that they are looking for. Is that the type of movement in the tech industry that you're talking about that could be impacting this, or is it coming from a different place?
No, I think that that's part of it for sure. There's a couple of things. First off, let me say this: AI technology. I believe this is my opinion. I believe AI technology is today what the Gutenberg press was to printing and publishing hundreds and hundreds of years ago. It is going to be a worldwide moment in history
Yeah.
that just completely changes the
A
course of
game
everything.
changer,
So,
a total
yeah,
game changer. Mhm.
absolutely. And so, even if the markets pull back and you see like Nvidia and some of these other tech companies, if you see those stocks begin to dip, that doesn't mean, oh, it's the end of AI. That just means that in the markets that, there has to be a balancing, there has to be a rebalancing, a resetting of some of the financials as far as investors who have been putting money in, and then they see what the earnings reports look like, and maybe they decide it's time to get out. So one other thing to layer onto this, Tony, Deutsche Bank has recently released information, and they're saying that the amount of margin in the markets right now it hasn't been this high since the year 2000, just before the dot-com bubble burst. So this is important, because margin is when people borrow money to put back into the market. That's just a very simple way to put it. So the markets have been running up. AI has really helped fuel a lot of that investment. And a lot of people have actually leveraged their investments in order to purchase more stock. So that's actually probably been one of the things that has helped the market really run up as high as it has. But the same thing is true in reverse. As the market begins to correct, when it starts coming down, people who may have borrowed money in order to buy stocks start saying, hey, I better sell while I can. Otherwise, I don't want to have to pay back, more than I took out to borrow. So they might start selling, and that could actually kind of fuel a little bit more of a sell off, or at least put a little bit of energy behind the correction. So I'm just saying that to say this: there's a lot of different things at play, but this is why people need to make sure that whatever their portfolio looks like, that they're talking to somebody about
Yeah.
it, making sure that they're not overexposed to one sector. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, as we say. And so right now you've seen a lot of people that might have been feeling like, hey, no, that's actually a good idea. Let's put all of our eggs in one basket. Let's put it all in one of these companies. But there's a reason why you need to be diversified. And I think that you're going to see more of those reasons kind of play out here near the end of the year.
Yeah, it's so important to have that professional guidance, especially at a time like this. That, of course, is what Paul and his team at PR Kirkman Investments provides. So if you are looking for a trusted team in that area, I recommend checking out Paul and his team at PR Kirkman Investments. And right along those same lines, Paul, this is exactly kind of where I was going with this. Is we're seeing all of this unfold. Right now, what are the biggest concerns for investors, for people that are trying to grow their wealth, trying to put themselves in the best financial position? And I know that can maybe change depending on, if you're young and you're starting out and you're trying to put yourself on, the right path, or if you're closer to retirement and you're ready to, the concerns could be different. So, what are those concerns right now, specific to the situation that we're in? And what are the differences between maybe, somebody who is about to retire and somebody who is not, when it comes to those concerns?
Yeah, that's a great question, especially since we're seeing this volatility right now, and what we might be seeing here near the end of the year. If somebody's young, listen, if someone's in their 20s or 30s, they're going to see multiple market corrections and recessionary levels in the market between now and when they retire. So, they going more aggressive is generally what somebody might hear a financial professional say. Look, if you're young, you can probably observe more risk. But the thing is, though, Tony, for people that are about to retire or retiring, I'm working with some people right now that are currently in that transition. I'm recently working with some new people who are in that transition right now. But for the last, 20 or 30 years, they've been very aggressive. And I wish I would have been able to work with them sooner, because it would have been better for them to start readjusting and revisiting their tolerance for risk in the market the closer they get to retirement. It's not something you want to do like the month you retire. Like, you want to build, you want to start kind of massaging that portfolio and get it prepared for retirement. So that way, you're just not way too aggressive in terms of risk, the month that you pull the trigger. I would hate for somebody saying, hey, I'm gonna retire at the end of 2026 or end of 2025, but then they haven't actually revisited their portfolio in the last 10 or 15 years. And so now, by the time if the market goes down into correction level and it's down 10%, well, the market's going to be down 10% when they're pulling the trigger. So there's a lot of reasons why somebody, especially when they're in their 50s, need to start looking at, hey, how do we readjust our portfolio? How do we look at our risk? How do we make sure that things are allocated appropriately for where we are in perspective to when it is that we're going to retire?
And I didn't. This was not. This was not on my show prep to ask you about, but it popped into my head when we mentioned the AI stuff a moment ago. As I mentioned, we have a weekly conversation with Mike McCleary from Intervine about AI development and AI influence, and the latest products and what they're capable of, and all of these things. And as you just mentioned, how much of a game changer and what a big deal AI, and what what a huge impact AI is going to have on our lives moving forward. And we've talked a lot on this show about how that influence exists in almost every aspect of your life, from entertainment to to jobs, to students, that the way that they can use AI with their schooling, the way that people can use it at work, just all of these things. One of the few areas I've never really thought closely about is the finance sector, and how much AI could have an influence. What are the specific concerns? Maybe some are positive, maybe some are negative, but what are some of those impacts that AI could have on the things that you do, and that you observe in your daily life? Because I would imagine that one of those things would be people going to Chat GPT for financial advice instead of a human being. And, that's a little bit of a concern for me, but I could definitely see that happening. What are some of those concerns that you see on the horizon?
Yeah, I just want to say I love AI and what it brings to the table for people like me to help get a better perspective or a better snapshot of different companies or business cycles, or even the historical trends that we've seen from one industry to the next. And also just asking Chat GPT, for example, asking Chat GPT, what's the future of AI going to look like? I mean, go straight to the horse's mouth, right? So I love what AI is going to bring to the table. I think and we've seen this before, I think that one of the problems that people might have, some people go to robo advisors, and these are like online platforms that rebalance and allocate your portfolio automatically for you. And that has its place. That 100% has its place. However, working with the financial professional, having that face and that empathy and similar shared values and life experience has its place too. So I think that it's going to be a great mix between AI, what it brings to the table, and also that human perspective, touch, experience, and empathy that you need whenever you're trying to create and achieve different goals and objectives.
It's a good, that's a great way to put it. It's a great tool in the toolbox, but not a one-stop solution, to where, for answers and advice and things like that. Only a couple minutes left here with Paul Kerman from PR Kerman Investments. I wanted to ask you about the penny, going away, and not necessarily just the penny itself, but this discussion moving forward that there's a potential bill coming that would round the price of everything in the country to the nearest nickel, so that things can't even be priced at an individual cent. $2.99, things like that won't exist anymore. Do you see that being a problem, or having any impact on the economy moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, immediately that's inflationary. I mean, if you round to the nearest nickel, I mean, if it's, let's say something comes in at $1.03 and you're going to round it to the nearest nickel, well, you've just increased the cost of that good or service
Mm-hmm.
by almost 2%. So I mean, that's going to be inflationary if we're all forced to round up. The other thing is if they're going to do that, I hope that the government rounds down when it comes to taxes and taxpayers and what it is we owe the government, taxes and fees. So if they're going to do that, I hope that they find a good balance to keep more money in the hands of the local economy rather than in the hands of the government.
Yeah, it's going to be a super interesting process to watch unfold. And I think it's going to start sooner than later. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that in the coming weeks and our conversations with Paul Kurtman. Again, check out his team at prkurtman.com. Paul Kurtman from PR Kurtman Investments. As always, buddy, really appreciate your time. Look forward to talking to you again. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Tony.
You bet. Paul Kurtman, prkurtman.com for PR Kurtman Investments. All right. As I mentioned, mix it into that conversation there. We've got more AI to talk about. Our AI big tech expert, Mike McCleary from Intervine, joins us next.
How do airplanes fly? What's in this box? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Learn how to store your gun securely and make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Hey, St. Louis golfers. Looking for a new golfing experience? Sugar Creek Golf Course was voted the most popular golf course in St. Louis. Book your tee time today at sugarcreekgolfcourse.com and join the fastest growing golf community in town, sugarcreekgolfcourse.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Report cards are a good way to show how well your kids are doing in class and where they might need improvement. We at the Show Me Institute believe schools should get grades too, so parents can see how their child's school compares to others. That's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on categories such as student performance in English language arts and math, ACT scores, and graduation rates. Then we take the rankings and come up with a grade point average, just like your child has. Each school and district has a grade, and the website is easy to use. And now we've added spending data for every district, so parents, taxpayers, and policymakers can see where the money is going. Don't you want to know how your child's school stacks up? Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The FAA has lifted its flight restrictions on commercial airline traffic. The FAA said it recommended rescinding the order after what it called detailed reviews of safety trends and the steady decline of staffing trigger events at air traffic control facilities. Cancellations hit their highest point a week ago last Sunday when airlines cut more than 2,900 flights. Air traffic controllers were among the federal employees who had to continue working without pay during the shutdown. They missed 2 paychecks during the impasse. That is George Williams reporting. President Trump signaling he plans to meet with New York City's Zohran Mamdani.
The mayor of New York, I will say, would like to meet with us and we'll work something out. But he would like to come to Washington and meet, and we'll work something out. We want to see everything work out well for New York.
As a candidate, Mamdani often positioned himself as a symbol of the resistance against President Trump. Republican strategist Aaron McGuire says Obamacare has become a crisis, but has been brewing now for quite some time.
Republicans were screaming for years. I remember working in the Senate back in 2014. We were talking about Obamacare every day and how unsustainable it was in the long run. And now we're having to face that reality.
McGuire tells the Salem Radio Network that Obamacare is part of a broader affordability crisis that Republicans don't want to be caught flat-footed dealing with.
Mike Johnson is the speaker and Leader Thune is the Senate leader. This is a very tough conversation, but if we don't lead on this, Democrats will beat us over the head on affordability, whether it's housing, groceries, or healthcare going into the midterms.
Without renewal of the Obamacare subsidies by December 31st, premiums could double for millions of Obamacare participants. Stocks are taking a pounding and did up till the closing bell, off 557 points for the Dow. The NASDAQ was down 192. More from townhall.com.
Everyone is watching major movements ripple through the markets these days, sparked by new policy shifts out of Washington, elections around the country, and activity from the Federal Reserve. Americans have faced uncertainty before, and every time we've found our footing again. The real secret to long-term financial peace is simple. Keep your eyes on the horizon and understand the fundamentals that drive real stability. That's exactly why Advantage Gold is inviting you to call 800-741-GOLD right now. We'll send you a free Gold IRA rollover kit, along with a complimentary copy of economist Ken Rogoff's insightful book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Inside, you'll learn how to defend your retirement savings against inflation, market swings, and reckless fiscal policies with tangible assets like precious metals that have preserved wealth for centuries. It's no wonder Advantage Gold has been America's #1 gold company for the past decade. Take a smart step toward protecting what you've earned. Call 800-741-GOLD. That's 800-741-4653. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have a chance for a few thunderstorms this evening and overnight. They're going to be isolated and brief, but they could contain some hail, mostly small hail, but something to watch out for this evening and overnight with a low down to 50 degrees. Then 71 for the high for Tuesday. There is a chance for some new storms in the afternoon, mainly east of St. Louis. They could produce hail or even an isolated brief tornado. So we made it a First Alert weather day focused east of St. Louis for Tuesday afternoon. We'll watch for any isolated strong storms to develop with that high of 71, then mostly cloudy and dry Wednesday with a high of 60. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Fox News commentary with Craig Gutfeld. Next.
If your cash is sitting in a savings account, it's at risk. Old school advice says save more, but today the strategy is broken. When inflation spikes, they print money or cut rates, your dollar shrinks. So do your savings. The solution? Own something real. Physical gold and silver. When the dollar drops, gold and silver prices rise. And with Noble Gold, owning gold is simple. Just visit noblegoldinvestments.com and chat with a specialist. The knowledge is free. The protection is priceless. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions.
Here's Greg Gutfeld.
Shouldn't the Dems realize that having the media on your side makes for terrible, weak, entitled politicians? Trump had the most antagonistic press ever, and he emerged the strongest candidate we've ever seen. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. They made Trump stronger even as some tried to kill him. The media is like the parents of a child who they spoil rotten. Everything he wants, he gets. You fast forward 15 years and the spoiled brat is doing nothing. No desire, no energy, no purpose. That's Joe Biden. That's the entire Democratic Party. Then there's another kid with different parents. Nothing got handed to him. He had to work his way through school. And the moment he hit 18, he was on his own. Quickly found his calling and turned his anger into agency. That's Trump. He expected nothing from the media. And because of that, he ended up with everything.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.994.1 News Talk STL. Great conversation with Paul Kurtman from PR Kurtman Investments and Gabe Pfeiffer in that 2 o'clock hour. Coming up in about 20 minutes or so, we will be joined by Dave Sylvester from the Gutter Pros. Look forward to that conversation. Man, I had some leaf issues over the weekend. I'm sure we'll talk to Dave about that and more. And right now on the line is Mike McClary from Intervine, the local company that makes the best flashlights, lanterns, and headlamps available on the market, and our big tech and AI expert. Mike, as always, appreciate your time. And I know we have a big topic of discussion on tap today that you're going to have to explain. So this is a perfect example of leaning on your expertise to help us understand what's happening. So thanks for your time as always, buddy.
You bet. Great segment with Paul, by the way. A nice lead in. One of these days, we got to get Paul and I on a call. He and I text together, by the way, and talk about
great.
AI stuff and finance. So it's
really that was, I don't know why that was I've talked with just about every guest in every area of life about AI and AI influence, but that was the first time that we'd ever talked about the possible influence of AI in the finance sector and in the personal finance sector. People looking for answers or advice. So that was really great stuff with Paul. Go check it out on the podcast if you missed any of that conversation. All right, I'm just gonna let you explain this topic because I think it's super interesting, but I'm not going to be able to explain it as well as you can. So take it away, Mike.
I want to talk about. No, I appreciate it. I've actually had this on my list for a few weeks now because it's called Javan's paradox, and I just love saying that because it makes me sound cool. Javan's paradox.
Javan's paradox.
But yeah, you say it again. I love the way it rolls off. So we talk about like what's going to happen to jobs because of AI. Are jobs going to go away because AI completely replaces them, or maybe AI is going to fizzle out and it's not really going to have much of an effect at all? I think as we can see from the financial markets, they're betting it's going to have a big effect, and that's what I think is going to happen as well. But what I think is going to happen, and a lot of very smart people, a lot of people smarter than I, seem to think that AI is going to do something completely different. Everyone's completely wrong. And it comes back to 1865. A guy named William Stanley Jevons, like saying that name again, by the way. He wrote a book called The Coal Question. And he was talking about how everyone thought that when the steam engine came out, it was actually going to cripple the coal industry. Because now, oh, wow, steam engines are so much more efficient. You need very little coal. What's gotten the coal? Like, you don't need as much anymore. I don't know, it was like a third the amount of coal you needed. What happened instead? The demand for coal skyrocketed because now that coal was actually affordable, a lot more people got into the steam engine game, creating all other types of products that used coal because it didn't used to be as efficient before. So you saw this skyrocketing demand for coal because it became more efficient. Now, I don't want to tie them back into something that happened in the late 1700s that the guy wrote about in 1865, but we have a lot of examples where this happened. As a matter of fact, back in 2016, there's a guy by the name of Jeffrey Hinton. He's called like the godfather of modern AI. So this guy knows AI. He actually kind of saw what was happening with AI, and he said, you know what? In 5 years, radiologists are not going to be needed because we're going to have AI completely replacing the job of radiologists. It's going to be so good. You go get an X-ray. There'll not be a person involved in the process because AI is going to replace it. Well, as far as I know, it's way past 5 years from 2016.
Yeah.
We still have radiologists. As a matter of fact, they've about doubled because what's happened is the same thing. AI is being used in MRIs, in CAT scans, in X-rays, but it's made it more efficient. So now they can do more of these X-rays, more of these CAT scans. They don't cost the thousands and thousands they cost before. They're much more efficient. So people who really couldn't get them before, maybe they had to pay themselves. They didn't have insurance. Maybe doctors couldn't get it approved by insurance companies. Now, because they're more affordable, they're able to do more of these really important MRIs and CT scans. And because more people have access to it, the demand has skyrocketed. We now need more radiologists than ever. And there's example after example. The cotton gin made processing cotton 50 times faster. You know what happened? We didn't have to get rid of people getting cotton. We had to actually start expanding the workforce to do that. Same thing with my area, LED lights. Now that we made LEDs more efficient, what did we do? Like just replace all the existing light bulbs? No, we now light up everything. Every corner of every parking lot, every street has lights all over it. We have LEDs on our boats and our cars everywhere. And instead, the demand for that has skyrocketed. So what I see happening is in so many industries, it's going to make people more efficient, the jobs more efficient, and we're not going to see people losing their jobs. They're just going to have to do things more efficiently with AI because there's going to be a ton more demand for all these things that involve AI.
Yeah, and that's such a good point, and a really a really good way to look at this, because when you talk about how advancements, and even that in that example about the radiology, like that's specifically even involving AI. It's not just a big advancement in technology. It's specifically what we're talking about, and with all of that increased efficiency and an increased demand that is because of the influence of AI, as you mentioned, that also not only made it, made those services a lot easier to obtain, and in just a lot more quantity. It increased the industry jobs wise on top of that. So, like, yeah, maybe you did a great job at the beginning explaining, like, there's kind of two primary thought processes when it comes to AI. Either it's going to take everybody's jobs, it's going to take over the world, it's going to take everybody's job, or it's just kind of a fad that's going to fizzle out. But nobody is talking about this third, and what I think is probably the most likely scenario, as you just illustrated, and looking back at human history, that whenever there's an innovation, maybe it will replace certain jobs, or make certain jobs obsolete, but at the same time, it will be creating new needs and new jobs and positions and opportunities for people as it settles in. So
and this is only about the jobs we know right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's economics 101. If you make something more efficient and the costs go down, the demand goes up. That has been proven true ever since, economics has been a topic in high school and colleges. So that's just natural to see. And what we haven't talked about are, what are the jobs that we can't even think about right now? We can't even conceptualize, because we don't know what's really going to be possible once we get to that next stage of AI that we're not quite there yet.
And there's one that is what we've talked about a lot on this segment over the last couple of months, and even just touched on that in that conversation with Paul Kurtman a few moments ago. But one example of this, or at least related to this conversation, is that all of this money that is already starting to be put into place and raised and spent by these companies, billions and billions of dollars, for the creation of power plants, and this is construction and nuclear power plants that need to be built. And as AI becomes more and more developed and a part of our lives, that's going to continue to be what supplies and powers that entire industry. And so we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of jobs and opportunities, and building and supplying this this infrastructure for
the trade
AI.
Careers are going to see an explosion if they're not already doing it right now for the next couple decades. And those are good, high-paying jobs: electricians, mechanical engineers, construction workers, plumbers. Good paying jobs. They already are right now, and they'll even get more better paying as we go on. And they're going to have like long lifespans for them as well. Now, I kind of wanted to be able to call in actually when Paul was talking, because I do have my own thoughts on like why there's this pullback in the financial market because of AI. And you and I have touched upon this. You mind if we just kind of talk about it real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see there's two reasons. And one is because we're not seeing the returns yet. All these companies are making huge investments, but we're very short-sighted in the United States. We're not like other countries. They expect returns on these in the next, quarter, at least this year. We're not seeing them yet. Because AI is just not there. It still makes mistakes. And so the financial companies are like, well, if we're not seeing the returns yet, we only have so much capital. We got to pull some of that back. That's one reason. The second one is not everyone can be a winner, and these companies are putting tens of billions, sometimes hundreds of billions of dollars in investment because they feel like they have to win. But we can't have every single little tech startup that's getting involved in AI become a winner. And we will see consolidation over the next year or two. We're already seeing some of that with Meta and Facebook as they're kind of pulling back on their AI and going more into hardware, on glasses and goggles. That's already the big one start of it. Apple kind of pulling back on AI and partnering up with Gemini and Google. We're seeing that right now. So as these companies are pulled back, that's a sign that not everyone can be a winner. You don't have to all be a winner. We're going to see some consolidation where the big players start partnering up, probably start buying. I imagine Amazon's going to make some big acquisition here in the next year because they are kind of behind. There's a lot of good companies they could buy. And if I had to place my bet, I'm not a financial advisor in any way. I don't even play one on TV, and I did not stay at a Holiday Inn Express. So don't take this any other way other than if I had to put my money on like one or two companies, Google would be the company I'd put my money on because they are a cash cow, cash producing company. They have all the money coming in to fund their AI development, so they don't feel the pressure. Where OpenAI is just spending money, they don't have nearly as much coming in as they need. And then maybe Microsoft, because they're the same place. They've been around. They are hugely profitable. They got tons of cash coming in. You cannot undervalue positive cash flow when it comes to investing and really growing in this business right now.
Yeah. You know what? And you mentioned Amazon. I don't even know if you've seen this yet, because this news literally broke today from all the, at least from what I could tell in the limited time I had to research this before our conversation. But it was reported today by the New York Times that Jeff Bezos is returning, their words, to the trenches as the co-CEO of a brand new AI startup company called Project Prometheus. Have you heard anything about this? This is like brand new stuff, and I mean, and kind of like you hit the nail on the head there on like what's going to be happening here moving forward. So according to the New York Times, this new company, Project Prometheus, is going to build AI products for engineering and manufacturing in various fields like computers, aerospace, and automobiles. Project Prometheus is focused on, quote, AI for the physical economy, per its own statement. Yeah, this is
Jeff did not mention that to me. So I did not know that.
Yeah, brand new. He is Bezos will share the position with Vic Baja. We're going to go with that. Previously led and co-founded Google's life sciences division.
So what does he know?
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Not technically Amazon, but Jeff Bezos, getting back involved in this new AI company called Project Prometheus. And it'll be interesting to keep an eye on this.
If he thought that Amazon really was doing well in the AI game, I think he would probably do that within Amazon. I think he's probably frustrated the fact that Amazon is behind the game. Like when's the last time you heard someone say, hey, ChatGPT just came out in their version and so did Gemini. Where's Amazon's?
Yeah.
They don't have anything
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I wonder if he was working on this behind the scenes or if this is a reaction to that of being behind and like his way to attempt to play catch up in that industry.
Again, he didn't tell me. I didn't have a chance to ask him. I will. How about I make a promise to you, Tony? The next time I have a one-on-one conversation with Jeff Bezos, I will ask him.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, please do. Ask him if he wants to come on the show. Talking to Mike McCleary from Intervine, our AI big tech expert here on Colombo Company. Just a couple minutes left here, Mike. But I have a story here about AI toys that could impact Christmas shopping. But to wrap up that conversation, you just mentioned like Google, being like one of the companies moving forward that will be, one that you could put your money on as far as leading the way. What are a couple of the others that you think are the ones that are doing Elon Musk and Grok, or what would be the other ones?
Absolutely. I mean, his companies are still like very cash flow positive. Microsoft, just because they're like Google, they have so much money coming in from other areas, they can fund all this. OpenAI is the one that they're just bleeding cash right now, but they're so far ahead that they got a good chance. There's another company called Perplexity. You and I both love using their tool. I see them as a prime takeover opportunity because they're small enough, they're good enough that like an Amazon, hope you're listening, Jeff, they'd be a good pickup for Amazon, kind of fitting right into their ecosystem.
Yeah.
And then all the other players out there are pretty small, like Claude by Anthropic. We hear about them. They're very big on having rules and regulations and guardrails, but they're just not big enough profit-wise either. They don't have the cash flow that these other players really have. Oh, and the last one, sorry. Some of the China companies like Baidu, Tencent, there are a couple companies that make some really awesome models out there. That's the unknown in this whole thing, is they're just moving ahead like gangbusters over there.
And then I'm sure we'll talk more about these kind of things moving into the holiday season, but only a couple minutes left here. So I wanted to touch on this because I saw this story today. A nonprofit group called Public Interest Research Group released its 40th annual Trouble in Toyland report. This focuses on possible, negative things or things that parents should know about toys going into each Christmas season. And they said that they tested a bunch of toys that use AI to have full-on conversations with kids. And some of those conversations could end up going in a direction that's not exactly PG. Quote, we found some of these toys will talk in depth about anything, including sexually explicit topics, will offer advice on where a child can find matches or knives. This is directly from their report. And act dismayed when kids say they have to leave or could no longer play with the toy. One of the things that they mentioned is they don't list any specific toys, at least in this report. I'll have to dig deeper into what they said to get the specific toys, but they did talk about how one toy they tested would record conversations with kids to learn more, for their, the AI within the toy, and it would record 10 seconds after a child stopped talking, which they said, could involve like other conversations in the background or other conversations being started by adults that now the toy is hearing and recycling into its conversation. What do you think about this report and these worries? Again, I'm sure we'll get more in depth on an issue like this as we go into the holidays, but what's your initial thought when you hear that?
Scares the
report?
heck out of me.
Yeah.
I mean, we are way too early in this game to be letting that happen inside of kids' toys. I know why they're doing it. Early adopters make all the money, right? And that's why they're doing it. They're the first AI toys on the market. I guarantee you there'll be millions of parents wanting to buy them for their kids, or millions of kids convincing their parents to to buy them. But it's way too early. We do not know enough. We don't have enough control over this, even for us, for conversations with us, much less for kids.
Yeah.
So that scares the heck out of me. I would not be buying them for my kids.
Yeah.
Until I get my Foxbot 3000 home robot, I am just not going to buy anything for a kid.
Yeah, my guess there is that a lot of these toys will kind of learn with the child, like with the conversations that it's exposed to. And these companies maybe are thinking, they're just going to be exposed to the child and the child's conversations. But that, when you got a toy out there in the wild, right?
How about do a test study with parents in on the game? They're
Right.
actually with their kids, listening to the conversation. You want to train on how to make kids learn better, be more interactive, be more engaged, maybe more outgoing. Do it with families as a test study. Spend a few months doing it the right way. Don't just get out there because Black Fridays and
Exactly. Yeah, but if they do that, then they can't make the money right now. That's exactly.
I know.
Mike McClary from Intervine. Don't forget about Intervine.com as we go into this holiday season and just go into, the winter season where power outages and things like that can be a problem. Also, a lot of great outdoor activities in full swing right now. And the flashlights, the lanterns, the headlamps, all available at Intervine.com, can help you in so many different ways, whether you're the hardcore outdoorsman or you're looking for a reliable light source to put in your home or vehicle. Lots of great products at Intervine.com that can help you. And of course, you can get 25% off everything at Intervine.com by using my name, Tony. Yes, everything. Tony. My name, Tony, is your promo code. 25% off all the flashlights, all the lanterns, all the headlamps, even batteries in all different sizes. Speaking of those Christmas toys, they're going to need batteries. So stock up on batteries for a great price. All at Intervine.com. Use my name, Tony, for 25% off everything. Intervine is Intervine, Intervine.com. Mike, as always, appreciate your time, my friend. Look forward to talking to you again very soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys. Talk in a week.
Yeah, you bet. Awesome stuff. Yeah, a week. Unless I need you before then, Mike. You never know. That could happen. We are going to, before we get out of here and hand things off to Tim Jones and Chris Arp's show, I mentioned that I had a war with the leaves over the weekend at my house. I know that leaf protection and your gutters can be a big problem this time of year, and that is why our friend Dave Sylvester from Gutter Pros is in the building. Dave joins us live in studio next here on Colombo Company.
Follow Tony Colombo on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk. News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
If you are looking for a new vehicle, of course, there is nobody that can help you better than the team at Weber Chevrolet and across the entire Weber Automotive Group. It was amazing last week when we had Skip Weber from Weber Chevrolet on with us on Wednesday. He's always a part of Close's Cabinet with Mark Close from KC95. We always have fun on Wednesday afternoons with that segment that is sponsored by Weber Chevrolet. And we were doing a story about the company Jello and how Jello was celebrating its 125th anniversary. And Weber Chevrolet is very near its 125th anniversary, just serving the St. Louis community. That is how long Weber Chevrolet has been a part of the St. Louis community, taking care of your vehicle needs generation after generation for so many St. Louis families. And you don't stick around for as long as that in the same community if you are not doing right by your customer. Of course, we always talk about how Weber is going to give you the best deal on a new vehicle. They're going to give you the most for your trade-in. But what sets Weber apart from the rest is the customer service and the way that they take care of you and that vehicle for the entire time that you have it. And, sticking around, being in the same community for nearly 125 years is proof of that. Also, every reputation score, customer service rating that you can find, over the last 125 years, just month after month, year after year, Weber Chevrolet always number one with a bullet when it comes to those customer rating scores and reputation scores and things like that. They are the best. So if you're looking for a new vehicle, check out what is happening at all three Weber Chevrolet dealerships right now by going to weberchevrolet.com.
Duck season opens November 1st in Missouri's North Zone, and deer rifle season starts November 15th. Hunters, are you ready? Mike Ferguson here for Whistle Pig Outdoors. They have everything you need. Stock up on premium ammo, upgrade your decoy spread, and stay dry with top quality field-tested waders. Whistle Pig also has big game clothing, deer stands, blinds, and scents. From waterfowl to whitetail, Whistle Pig Outdoors has you covered on North Main in Troy or at whistlepigoutdoors.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
So do you like good jokes? Here's a joke, or at least I think they're meant to be jokes. You be the judge. First, remember California Congressman Eric Swalwell and his Chinese spy girlfriend, Bang Bang? That's not the punchline. He had hot and steamy affair with Bang Bang. Pillow talk probably involved things like, how strong is the U.S. nuclear arsenal? Or maybe they just talked a lot about pot stickers. Anyway, Swalwell is thinking about running to be governor of California. Must be something in those pot stickers. In the meantime, Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett considering a run for the U.S. Senate. Oh, think of that combination in Congress. I've been to train wrecks, goat ropings, but I've never been anywhere near anything like what we're about to see if it happens. I do see buzzards circling.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
I just checked the events planned at Lit Cigar Lounge, so I'm planning a lot of time there. Top-of-the-line cigars, premium whiskey. Check out litstl.com and join me. Hey, and if we get hungry, Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, just a few doors down. We can order from the menu, be at our table within minutes. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield Valley and Lit Cigar Lounge, litstl.com.
Storm damage got you stressed out? Don't worry. Call Mario and his team at Top Quality Exteriors. We're your local St. Louis neighbors. Mario and his team specialize in roofing, siding, and gutters. Whether you need a few shingles replaced or a complete exterior makeover, we bring quality work with real results at an affordable price. Plus, we'll work with your insurance company to get your claim approved and help you get your repairs done quickly. Call for a free estimate today, 314-618-8888. BBB accredited and ready to roll. 314-618-8888.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story of the great rattlesnake roundup.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
I know it's not mine, but I'll see if I can use it for the weekend or a one-night stand.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Great conversation with our AI expert, Mike McCleary from Intervine in that last segment. And now joining us live in studio. I love it when company comes over in person. Dave Sylvester from the Gutter Pros. And I imagine right now you're a super busy guy, so double thank you for taking some time out of your day.
No, it's incredibly kind of you to have us back again this month. Thank you so much. We love being part of your company, so it's great. And I'm serious. It's great to be here.
You're, a person's gutter needs and siding needs and, the things, fascia soffit, all that stuff is a year-round issue for folks. Of course, especially when there's weather, severe weather can happen anytime. But it's got to be this time of year with the leaves falling and, potentially clogging up gutters. And then, we're right around the corner. We've already seen some freezing temperatures this year.
Yeah.
So, ice freezing in gutters or, behind damaged siding or things like that. Like this time of year has got to, I would imagine, if it's not your busiest time of year, it definitely exposes the problems in a home.
Great
great
comments.
Yeah,
it is a very, very busy season, and it just seems like it seems to extend each year. We're further and further into December before the bad weather sets in, if you will. But we're just very busy, and
Yes.
I'm not. That's not a complaint. It's like, wow, I'm stunned, and we haven't really had our big leaf dump yet.
That's crazy.
They're coming down, baby. But
So,
I'm telling you what,
that's crazy because that's exactly what I wanted to start with. And you know how I've said this to you many times.
man,
I
yeah,
say it
every
to you
time.
every year, and it just continues to baffle me, especially after what I went through this weekend with the leaves, that people don't have the leaf protection on their home. Like
I know.
it's just such a big deal. It's such a problem. And
know.
right now, unless you live in a field or a desert or something
where there isn't a tree within
exactly
half a mile of your house,
because and as you said, we're not even really
it's still
we're not even really to the prime of this yet. But I did the yesterday Sunday was my leaf day in the front yard and the backyard, and I was out there for hours. And everything I finally, it looked great, but it was a lot of raking, a lot of mulching, just a lot of work. We had just leaves everywhere, and I even said to Christine, I was like, look at the yard now.
Yeah.
Well, it looks good.
Look
You
now.
know, like this
8
time
hours
I
from now.
want to prove to you that how much hard work I did.
Yes,
And,
we are.
you know,
Guys are like that. It's
right?
like, I want you to see what I did.
And sure enough, this morning I wake
Buried.
up to go to, to take my son to school and then come to work. And it's like,
oh man,
half the, it's like half the work is, it still looks a little bit better than it did before,
Yeah.
but it's all, the leaves are already back.
I got a feeling this is our week. This week and next week, we're probably going to see the massive dumping of leaves.
Mhm.
We had such a dry era, as we came into the fall. And so we were late on our pretty trees, how you have the
Mhm.
weekend drive. And
Yeah.
I mean, here we are in the middle of November and we're now seeing pretty trees now, but
Yeah.
that's like 3 weeks late.
And I would imagine, and also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would guess that this is a big 1-2 punch, because if you don't have the proper leaf protection and all these leaves fall into your gutters and they clog it up, and then it rains,
Oh, this is
and then
a
it gets
nightmare.
cold, and then it gets cold,
Yep.
and so your gutters just can't drain properly because the leaves just fell, and now
Right.
now
Now they're
water
frozen in there.
standing in there is all
Dude,
getting frozen.
I'm telling you, it's coming.
Yeah.
Because we've when we came in, we're like, hey, how you like the bipolar weather? That was a good comment, by the way. I mean, it was so hot over the weekend.
Right.
And now
Saturday was ridiculous.
Yeah, 80 some
Hot.
degrees,
Yeah.
So then it's going to drop down. And like you say, and we're going to get rain this week.
Mhm.
It's coming. I don't know how much we'll get because I don't know. It depends on which one you listen to. There's lots of rain, or there's some rain, or there's a little bit of rain, but this is going to be tough.
So talk about that, like what kind of damage can be done or issues can arise if that exact scenario happens. You get your gutters clogged up by the leaves that fall right now, and then in a few weeks, because your gutters are clogged, the water can't drain, and then it freezes, and now you've got ice freezing in your gutters and in your downspout and things like that.
Yeah.
What are the problems that can
So
arise from that?
anybody that has gutter board that could sometimes be under the soffit fascia that's slightly bad or bad, the weight of that ice that's in the gutter will more than likely pull them down.
Yeah, separate
And
from
so
the house.
then it pulls those down. It pulls down the fascia. You got rotted board in there. Sometimes the soffit panels blow off into the wild blue yonder. Can't find them. So it just creates that kind of a scenario. And I sent you some pictures of recently of some pictures where the board had been rotted and you saw the gutter hanging down on the ground and everything. And so,
yeah.
And that hasn't even, we haven't even hit the ice yet.
Right.
So
right.
This happens every year. It's, sometimes people don't realize the wood is bad. It's hard to tell when it's all covered up, and then it comes
Something
down.
like this happens and it exposes the
and
problem.
sometimes the other thing that maybe another thing would happen is if leaves get in the downspouts and then there's ice in there, and it can burst the backside.
Mhm.
So it ruins your downspouts, and then there's water spewing out the back and coming down the brick or whatever. And those are a couple of scenarios that it creates. So
And
those are
just
kinds of
putting
things that
on
need
that
attention.
Leaf protection can stop so
Yeah.
much of that from happening. I mean,
Yep.
doesn't fix everything, but man, it does protect you from a lot of things. And then, we're talking about gutters because we're talking about Gutter Pros, but also Gutter Pros does Dave mentioned fascia and soffit, but also all your siding needs and siding repair and siding replacement. And I would imagine a lot of the same issues. If you have damaged siding, you have cracks or holes in your siding. And, this time of year, there's rain and there's, wet snow and moisture, and that moisture and water gets in those cracks and holes, and then it freezes. And here we
It
go. Now
splits
you
it
got a
and
siding problem.
You got a siding problem.
Yeah.
And I think you had asked me a question off air, but sometimes it's hard to find a matching siding if it's been up for a long time. Because manufacturers over time will change their colors. They'll change
and it
their
just
styles.
fades and it fades.
And it fades. So that's a great one. Now, somebody will say, well, hey, I got 3 pieces of that siding up in my garage. So they'll pull it out and it's like, these don't even look like they're the same because they're so different. The other one's bleached out by the sun.
Yeah.
It does happen where the sun does fade over years. I mean, if you hung outside for 10 years, you wouldn't look so good either.
Yeah, I gotta imagine. I mean, like if you're replacing siding, you're doing a big replacement and you're just putting on new siding, you can obviously you can match it all. But that repair, I mean, that's gotta be something that people are aware of. Like, right? That you're gonna,
yeah,
you can't expect one piece of siding to be replaced in like.
There's a lot of hopers that hope that we can, hope we can. But and I hate to be the bearer of bad news when we're there. It's like, I really can't. I mean, show me your siding. And then I have to hold it up and then they see it themselves.
Well,
Oh, man, I didn't think about that.
But the important thing is to get the problem fixed.
Yeah, dude, get it fixed.
If you have holes or cracks in your
Yeah.
siding, like, because, you know, that's an annoying problem right now. But down the road, if
Yeah.
if you don't take care of it, and water keeps getting behind there, and then we go through a couple of winters with it freezing, now you're talking down the line, you're talking about massive damage and major costs.
Major costs.
And it's something that
major
you could have
costs.
taken care of
Yeah.
early on.
This I'll say too is a lot of the waterproofing companies that we work with always tell customers, their customers, if you have water coming in your basement, the first thing you want to address is the gutter.
Yes.
First thing.
That doesn't
'Cause
surprise
if they're
me
out of
from my
whack-
own personal experience.
Yeah. If they're out of whack and the water's overflowing, then that could solve it right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Just the gutters being replaced and redone so that they're draining properly. That way there's no overflow, which would have been your situation, right? If
Right.
we'd have waited
Yeah.
too much longer.
Exactly. Yeah. It would have been
And
leaking in the basement. for
So
sure.
that gutters are, you know, people don't really pay much attention to gutters. Who does, right? And I do because it's what I do for a living. But it is really a very important part of your home in the St. Louis area, and you cannot be without gutters in St. Louis. You just cannot.
Yeah, almost out of time here, Dave. We'll get you back on obviously very soon. Gutterpros.com, you know, if you want to learn more about everything that Dave and his team can do for you. But is that the number one? Is there anything else that we're missing that people need to be on the lookout for this year? Because I'd be so focused on leaf protection, and maybe that is it. But is there any other
that's
thing
our,
that,
I think we've covered a couple of really important points again this time. And I would just say, you know, if you don't have leaf protection up, this is something to really seriously consider. We have a variety of them. You don't always have to go Cadillac, Mercedes on your leaf protection.
Right.
Depending on budgets and stuff, we can work with you.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And I can attest.
we'd love to do it.
I can attest from multiple visits from Dave and his team that nobody is more affordable, nobody's faster, nobody's more professional than the team at Gutter Pros. Whether
you,
it
Tony.
be gutter repair replacement, siding repair replacement, fascia soffit, they do it all at Gutter Pros. And imagine your phone will be also ringing soon, because it'll be the one time that people do see their gutters when they go up to hang up those Christmas lights.
Oh, yeah.
And then they get up there and they
That's
go,
here.
whoa, what's going on over here? Call
Right.
the Gutter Pros for all of your gutter, siding, fascia, soffit issues. Gutterpros.com. Dave, great to see you, buddy.
You
Thank so
too.
much.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. Colombo and Company back tomorrow at 2. In the meantime, make sure you're subscribed to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss anything that happens here on the show. And keep it here for the O'Reilly Report next, and then the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Are the days of a personal doctor gone? Not at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Dr. Randy Tobler to share how our design is putting the care back into healthcare. Plain and simple, our members, not insurance companies, get our exclusive focus. That means same or next day appointments, responsive answers to your concerns, and a no-spin, big tool chest approach. It's about time you get serious time devoted to your medical needs. To learn about healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible